there was nothing I wanted more than a break from the chaos that was my mind. When we get out of our own head and get into somebody else's heart because we're genuinely curious and interested, we come out the other side of that experience going, holy cow, my little mouse turds that I was tripping over ain't there anymore. Look at that.
Quiets the mind.
Oh, it's again.
Fills the heart and quiets the mind. Welcome to the Whole Wealth Journey.
Wealth with a Y. What does that mean?
What does that mean? Are we spelling it funny?
No, I think it's
We're using the word Y.
The word Y, right?
Okay, good.
Not the letter Y, the actual word Y.
Well, I know why.
Why?
Because we want to help people get on their path. Then the path is all about their why.
And it's about aligning your finances with the people, the experience, and the passions that give their lives true meaning.
It's getting way beyond the bank statements, the brokerage statements, the trust documents, the life insurance, and taking a deeper dive into your why.
Well, admittedly, we're not for everyone. This is different. We're for the bold ones who really want to dive deeper and seek a life that resonates with who they really are at their core. Who finds value in vulnerability?
Well,
you and I do.
You and I do, and that's where we want to play, but not everybody is comfortable with that vulnerability.
Maybe we should introduce ourselves. What do you think?
Oh, that's a good idea. Jim Gebhardt.
And I'm Matthew Grishman. We are the co-creators of the podcast, The Whole Wealth Journey. Ready to find your why? Then let's get started and get you one step closer to unlocking your inner wealth and well-being. What are you grateful for today?
We've talked before, and we're going to talk many more times about this concept of who, not how. And in my house, Beth and I have drilled, I think is the appropriate word, into our kids the concept of it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Okay.
These are big parallels for me because too often, again, as an entrepreneur, we want to control everything, right? Off mic, you were just talking about your own desires and tendencies to want to control everything.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And we're trying to get out of that business.
Right.
So I've got a labral tear in my right shoulder that hurts like a you-know-what. So get the MRI, talk to my doc. You know, she's like, you've got a labral tear. You need to go see an ortho. I'm going to refer you to this ortho. I know this ortho. I don't know him personally. I know him more in the community. He's a shoulder specialist. It's his thing. And I call, and I'm just, random Joe patient. And first available is May 19th for a consult.
Oof.
Yeah, that's not going to work for me.
Yeah, that's a ways out from the day we're sitting here recording this.
That's not going to work for me. So hang up, remessage my doc, but I'm kind of twitching to get in motion here. Don't hear back from her immediately. I didn't expect to. I just love the fact I can message my doctor now, and there's actually a reply that happens at some point. That's a whole revolutionary thing for me. So I'm like, well, who do I know? Oh, Dr. Dave, buddy from the club, played golf with him many times, sweetheart of a guy, retired orthopedic surgeon.
Oh, nice.
I email him, and boom, he replies right back with an orthopedic surgeon I don't know, but I wouldn't expect to. And he says, this is who I've been referring to lately. She's a shoulder specialist. You want to talk to so-and-so. You want to dial this number. Don't go through the front door. You want to dial this number. I see her Monday.
Nice.
And again, Monday, relative to when we're recording this, is like 5 days from now.
Right.
Not 82 days from now.
So by the time this episode's out, you will have already seen said orthopedist through the back door, like at the speakeasy.
That is the reminder to me of who, not how.
Oh, yeah.
And we just can't reinforce it enough with our kids because I'm grateful for the reminder with this little shoulder thing of who, not how. And I've told it to the kids as, and I'll repeat it a few more times, but I just love when those reminders happen.
Yeah.
That you can get further with help from the right who than you can if you're just trying to do the slog your own. Like if I had just hung up the phone and go, okay, I'm just going to have to wait till May 19th and not sleep well and be in pain and, okay, well, that's me.
Well, that's what most people wind up doing.
No, that was not acceptable. Right? That was a very mediocre solution. And it's like, okay, pause, time out. Who do I know? Oh, Dr. Dave.
Sure.
Who's a devoted listener of the show, by the way.
Nice. Welcome, Dr. Dave.
So Dave, thank you very much for the speedy introduction to get me back in the game, as they say.
Well,
once I get my wing adjusted.
Exactly. That's awesome. Very good. Thank you for sharing that gratitude.
Sure. Anything on your gratitude list today?
Yeah. And we're going to get to it. I don't want to come off of your gratitude yet because it really struck a nerve. It's part of my gratitude is I'm grateful for you being an example that showed me that that's possible. Because, I'm one of those kids who kind of never really plugged into school, right? Which is where, traditional school is where we go learn how to do lots of different stuff. And it wasn't for me. And it wasn't for my boys either. And so something I've always felt has benefited me greatly in life is my genuine curiosity about other people and really being interested in getting to know other people and seeing you do that over and over and over in the 20 years that we've known each other was just validation for me that, oh, wait a minute. Developing a specialty in who's, by having genuine curiosity and interest in other people, when you do that for a whole bunch of years and then you pause and turn around and realize all these who's that I have meaningful relationships with in my life, and then I show that to my boys, that this is the key to living a happy, joyous, successful, and free life, filled with adventure and chasing your wildest dreams, is not necessarily about knowing how to do everything you need to do as a responsible adult, but many times it's who. And to be able to have something come up in life where you can turn to one of those very important who's in your life because you've built a meaningful relationship is awesome. My gratitude beyond that extends to one of the who's that I got to meet along the way. But specifically, what I'm grateful for today also has to do with my health. It has to do with a couple of the who's in my life who have helped me through my health journey. I am officially off my pericarditis medication.
Wow. That is not a small conversation.
This past Sunday, I was supposed to take an injection for the 4 weeks since my last injection. It was a weekly injection. Then it became, after about 9 months of doing that, we decided to extend from a weekly injection to an every other week injection. However, if I was going to have any chest discomfort, doc said go right back to an injection. The beautiful part about the medication is recurrent pericarditis is one of the nice little byproducts of the open heart surgery that I had. About 1% of people who experience any kind of trauma to their heart get this condition called recurrent pericarditis. It's the most painful thing I've ever experienced in my life, even more painful than the recovery from having my sternum broken. Imagine sandpaper rubbing in your chest with every breath you take.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
Well, you remember I think a little bit of where I was and what I was thinking about at that point in life, which wasn't much other than the pain I was in. So to be able over time to gradually extend the duration between injections is how you test whether the flare-up is still there or not. And so we got to the point where I was taking the medication once a month for the last couple of months. And this Sunday, I just decided, I'm not in any discomfort. Let's go another day. And then I wasn't in any discomfort that day. So, I'm going to call it after 3 days of going past that monthly injection that we're off the medication for now. So I am super grateful to be free from this most recent flare-up. I know that it can and quite possibly will come back at some point.
Well, you have a solution.
And I have a solution, and I have incredible who's in my life that are keeping that solution wide open because This is not a medication that is easy to get. It's going to become easier, but right now it's the only FDA-approved medication for the treatment directly of recurrent pericarditis instead of all the off-label stuff I was doing in the beginning.
Oh, this is awesome, dude.
It's nice to have a doctor I trust. It's nice to have doctors that I trust.
Well, and say more about that feeling, right? Because trust really at the end of the day is a sense, right?
Oh, yeah.
And God bless, you and I have a bit of a spidey sense around this
Yes.
in terms of being able to assess and rapidly diagnose if there's trust in the room
Yeah.
and when there's not.
Yeah. So with a doctor, and I like this conversation about trust because it's very meaningful given our last conversation in studio talking about leadership. And these are going to connect, I think.
They're kind of next door neighbors.
Quite meaningfully. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, with a doctor, the reason I always trusted him from the minute I met him is because I felt he was incredibly present in the room with me. He seemed to really breathe in my gas and really hear what it was that I was saying. He would often reflect back as I was sharing with him. So let me make sure I heard you right. You're saying that the discomfort happens when you do this. And he would literally mimic the body motions that I would put in front of him. I felt like he heard me. I felt like he was present with me in the room.
Which,
not thinking about his next appointment in 20 minutes.
Sure, but I think a newer age doctor is better at that than they used to be. I don't always think the medical profession was very good at the listening part, and it was more prescriptive.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, just do this.
Yeah.
Right? There wasn't that relationship.
Right.
Right? Because what he's doing by listening is building relationship with you. The byproduct of that relationship is trust.
Yes. Well, both Dr. Yadlapalli and Dr. Menon have both said the same thing to me, that one of the greatest indicators in cardiac health and being able to prescribe, diagnose, decide what's next, it isn't something you're going to find on a test. It isn't something you're going to find on your echo or your EKG. It's the answer to the question of, how do you feel?
Yeah. Well,
How are you?
I've sat with Dr. Menon, and it was one of the most unique medical interactions I've ever had in terms of the conversation.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the key questions.
Yeah.
And not that I've sat with a lot of doctors in my life, but, since Dr. Frank Bersani when I was 6 years old, that one left a mark.
Sure.
There wasn't a lot of, so how do you feel? And that speaks to this concept of relationship.
Absolutely.
Well, that leads
trust.
that leads to trust.
Absolutely.
Well, I can't have any trust if there's no relationship.
No. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? I ask that question a lot in here. Can a relationship exist if there isn't trust in the room? Can trust exist if there isn't relationship?
I think it's harder to have trust if there's no relationship.
Okay. Well, let me challenge that by taking us down memory lane a little bit. Back to, somewhere around early July of 2005.
Right. That was a unicorn situation.
But okay. You and I have a common friend, Shelby Trinkino. I miss you dearly if you're listening to the show.
I miss her too.
I hope you and Marty are thriving.
Yeah, absolutely.
You met Shelby at Strategic Coach with Lee Brower in Salt Lake City.
In 1897.
Exactly.
Right.
You guys were in a class. It was somewhere right around when you opened Gebhardt Group in like May of 2005. It was either May or June that you guys were in class, and she was saying to you, hey, you got to meet my friend Matthew.
Yeah. Sure. Another wholesaler. That's
right.
Just what I want.
Yeah. But Jim, no, you don't understand. You guys grew up you literally grew up in the same town, and you didn't know each other, and now you both live out on the West Coast. Whether you ever do business with him or not,
you just need to meet.
You guys just need to meet. So we did. We did. We went down. I met you once, and I don't exactly remember that interaction. I don't remember what we talked about, other than the fact that we did discover that we were both in the Carrier Dome when Pro Washington sunk the half-court shot against BC and won the game before the three-point shot.
Right.
Where literally they won the game, I think, 50-49.
Something, yeah, very
some
close.
pathetically
very
low score
close.
like that. But the Carrier Dome experiences is it even still called the Carrier Dome?
No, it's not. It's called the JMA Dome.
You got to be kidding me.
JMA Wireless Dome.
Oh my God! Could you imagine if they ever changed the name of AT&T in San Francisco?
Right.
I mean, it would be awful.
Right.
Or Arco. I mean, if we ever lost Arco Arena here in Sacramento,
exactly.
I'm calling it the Carrier Dome.
Sure.
So we at least, I know in our first meeting we got that part established, that we were there at the same time. We may have even done a little Jewish geography with my old friends from JCC summer camp.
Sure.
But I don't remember anything about our conversation other than how I felt when I walked out the door.
Well, come on. This is one of the oldest axioms out there. People don't remember what you said. They remember how they made you feel.
To the point that it almost cost me my marriage at the end of the day when I raced home and declared to Amy, who was out sunning on the back deck, hey, honey, we're moving to Lafayette. What? I met my business partner. We're moving to Lafayette. This was July of 2005, right?
Foreshadowing.
We couldn't have been together more than an hour, maybe 2, when we were together in Lafayette. But something happened because it wasn't a month later that my house of cards completely came down and came unraveled. I had a train wreck of a relationship with money that I like to spend. I like to use money back in the day as a tool.
It grew on trees.
It did. And man, did I use that as a way to fill that hole in my soul. When I found myself in a really, really dark situation where I had basically lost all my purchasing power to the point where my family couldn't buy groceries and I couldn't attend a conference I was supposed to be a keynote speaker at, I had to do something about it, but my ego would not let me share it with a soul except you. I met you once, and you, of all the people that I loved, I had friends from my old company who said to me, dude, why didn't you call me? I would have lent you money instantly, no questions asked. Like people I didn't know were in the 2 a.m. club,
right?
Who told me they were on my 2 a.m. club.
Right.
My own ego wouldn't allow that to happen. But there was something about the first time I met you that made me feel comfortable enough to pick up the phone and say, hey, dude, can I come see you? You just did. I know. Not a social call, not a business call. This is a personal call. I'm in trouble. I need help. I'm hoping you can be the one who helps me. And out of the generosity of your heart, you decided to see the wholesaler again. And I came down and I told you the whole story of what happened. How the bank account was overdrawn.
Yep.
The credit cards were maxed out.
Yep.
We were getting $50,000 to $60,000 a month deposits, but yet within a week of the month,
goes in, goes out.
Yeah, looking at our bank account going, where the hell did all our money go, right? It's just a horrible relationship with money. And I will never forget, this part I will never forget. When I told you the story, after an hour of blobbing away, I was waiting for the judgment. I was waiting for all the shoulds, boy, what you could have done with the millions of dollars you squandered, you stupid son of a bee. That's what I was programmed to hear. And instead,
that's what you were ready for.
That's what I was ready for.
Right.
I was armed and ready.
Right.
And that's not what happened. You looked at me, and I don't remember exactly what your words were, but it was something to the effect of, holy cow, dude. First of all, thank you for sharing all that. That sounds awful. That sounds like just a really hard way to live, man. I don't even know how you're sitting right here in front of me today, but good on you for just being here.
Yeah, something like that. Those are things that would typically come out of my mouth.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And as you were expressing that to me, I was baffled. Wait, what? What's going on here? What are you doing? Somebody's going to jump out from a closet with a hammer to hit me over the head, right? What?
Right. Well, because you've been carrying around the shame for a long time, and it had just come to a head.
Yes.
Right? So adding more shame to the pile isn't going to accomplish anything.
You didn't need to be part of my consequences.
No.
And you realize that.
You had done a lovely job of that all by yourself.
Yes, yet we as people will often try to become the additional consequences to other people's bad choices when we never really need to be.
Sure.
Because we all know what shame feels like. I felt it.
Yeah.
What I was amazed at was how you listened. How you really listened intentionally and breathed all of my gas in. Like you really like took it in. I remember you're like feeling it with me. Right?
Oh, I remember what it felt like. It was painful as hell.
Yeah. The fact that you felt that with me was just I'd never experienced that before with another man. It was the first time I watched somebody really listen to what I had to say. I don't know that I ever had a friend do that for me up until that point. I've had lots of friends and we've had lots of fun, but I don't know that I ever shared my darkness that deeply with another man.
Oh, I was going to say.
To where they listened.
Right. I mean,
and didn't recoil like, dude, I got my own problems.
Well, that action takes one of our favorite words, which really isn't in the episode so much today, but the concept of vulnerability.
Yeah.
In this case, you had a need. You didn't want to be vulnerable, but you had a need because you had a problem you were trying to solve that kind of forced you into vulnerability with someone that you had kind of a very beginning relationship with. You had a brief interaction with me but you had some validation from Shelby that this is a guy you need to meet.
Yeah.
Not realizing it would have that kind of spark and impact, just, two good guys that need to meet.
Right.
And it is my unique ability.
Well,
is to listen without judgment.
Yes, to
right?
listen in neutral. And you did that incredibly well, and I'd never experienced that before. And even after, you helped me, and I got my financial house in order, and everything was great for a long time until, the big relapse of 2015, which, that we'll save that for another episode. Or
Sure.
Heck, maybe we'll even write another book about that one. I was so obsessed with what I experienced that I wanted to learn how to do that so that I could give that experience to other people.
Right.
It was that powerful.
Right.
I was like, holy shit. I want more of that from others, but more than wanting more of that from others is I want that superpower to be able to give that to others. Because that dude was an incredible gift. And when I think about the lack of trust that's in our world today, when I think about the conversation you and I had about leadership last episode, about this leadership vacuum that our tribe, we are showing our tribe how to step into that with our version of leadership, with what we feel is the leadership that's needed for society today. When I shared with you my obsession for that, we studied it. Because I don't think we knew at that point that was your unique ability, because you were like the fish swimming in water.
Oh, 100%.
I know.
Well, and that's the whole concept of unique ability is
you don't know.
You can't see it. You do it everywhere you go. That superpower is present everywhere you go. It's not just a work thing. It's not just a home thing or a community thing or a charitable thing. That's how the unique ability is just, you can't see it. So it has to come from other outside influences that can help you see it. So we did. We studied it we tried to pick it apart and understand what it was.
Yep.
And through repetition, we saw it again and again.
Over and over.
At this point, we got to be in the hundreds of times that we've worked together, and you've seen it, and you've learned from it, and you've learned how to
apply it myself.
How to apply it yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when the trust is there, some powerful conversations can happen.
Yeah.
Right? The vulnerable conversations can happen. This is a little in the weeds, but one of the reasons that when we do the financial planning work with clients, that we don't charge by the hour is intentional. It's intentional because sometimes it's in the second or third hour of a conversation when the party finally feels vulnerable enough to open up to they have this problem. It might be a health problem. It might be a relationship problem with a family member. It might be an addiction problem that they're trying to figure out if that's a problem or not, right?
Well,
they might have a spending problem.
Sure.
Right?
How does that vulnerability happen, right? How does somebody get to that second or third hour in the conversation and feel like they can be vulnerable? What's the trigger that allows that to happen? It's what we studied about your unique ability, the three components to it's not here. Stay here, brother. The three components that we identified that make up your unique ability to create trust instantly comes from, right, vulnerability, empathy, and compassion.
Sure.
Right? But going back to when you and I first met, after you shared the empathetic statement with me, you then shared some very compassionate statements with me about, just, boy, I feel how hard that is, but you're so close, right? And you've got these three really complicated relationships, and I think if we just do a little reverse engineering, we can get you on the right place. But let's kind of start with you, and it was wonderful. Where I think a lot of people misunderstand vulnerability is that where you were vulnerable with me first had nothing to do with what you said to me. The idea of listening in neutral, of listening intently, of listening with curiosity, not for the sake of what you're going to say next, but because you're genuinely curious to understand. That is vulnerability. They say 90% of all communication is done nonverbally with body language. You don't communicate, you don't show leadership in vulnerability with what you say. You show that first step of vulnerability in how you show up. When you show up with the spirit of openness, of trustworthiness, of curiosity, of, hey, I'm really interested. Please share with me. There's a vulnerability in that that's palpable. And I felt it. I didn't know I felt it at the time.
Sure.
But it's what cracked me wide open to where I sang a song and a river and,
Right.
Right. And gave you the whole spiel.
Right. Some of it is a job hazard, right? In the sense that usually someone is coming to see us, they have a problem.
Sure.
But they don't always necessarily know what that problem is.
Right.
They're stuck.
Right.
Right.
And you think this is a job hazard. Keep going. I'm going to have fun with this.
I'm being ha-ha when I say job hazard.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
It's the nature of the profession.
I wasn't picking on the words. I was picking on that you think this is a nature of the profession, that it's not something unique that you do.
Okay, let me rephrase it. It's the nature of my profession.
Attaboy, that's better.
You having seen the landscape of 10,000 other financial people.
Thank you. That's where I was going with that.
I get that that's my unique ability.
Yeah.
And I do it wherever I go.
Yes.
That was the other.
That's what makes
that was
it unique
the other
ability.
aha that I had after I went through the formality of the exercise.
Yeah.
Is I went back to the very first job that I had out of college, and I tracked down one of the guys that I worked with who wasn't my boss, but he really wanted to be a mentor. And
was this an old Aetna guy or when you were selling knives?
An old Aetna guy.
Oh, okay.
And I don't even know how I tracked him down, but I did. And you write this particular letter that goes out to, a dozen or 12 or 15 folks, and they want it to be as, diverse and a group of people that have experienced you in life.
This is identifying your unique ability.
Yep.
You're sending the letter out.
And when that came back, I was like, okay, yeah, that's pretty consistent. If I go back, in this case, a dozen years or better.
Building trust
at lightning fast speed.
Yeah.
Right. And the other component to it that was very thematic, which I'm aware of, is likability.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I have a genuine likability that people just want to talk to me. And this is totally my mother. I mean, it is the stories I could tell about my mom being on a flight somewhere, and she sits next down to her, sits in 22D, and the two people to her left, by the time the flight's over, she's gotten their entire life story.
Uh-huh. That's just another way of saying vulnerability, dude.
I know.
Yeah.
And so this little gift comes directly from my mom in that sense of being curious, being likable, and also, as we learned with Bo, a willingness to be vulnerable.
Yes.
And tell our own tale, because I at times have had a bad relationship with money, much as you did. And, what you couldn't have known in 2005 was that we had just started the business, and I was sitting on a $100,000 equity line from Chase that we hadn't used yet.
Right.
But if the clients weren't coming over from Smith Barney, that was the backstop.
Right.
Right? And it's like, okay, this has got to work, because I'd used what cash we had to buy the furniture and the copiers and the letterhead and the legal stuff and the office space and blah, blah, blah. But you couldn't, I'm not sure I divulged any of that right then and there.
Well, you didn't, because you didn't need to. Because what I was coming to you with, the financial woes that I was coming to you with, was I was literally squandering money on meaningless stuff. You were investing in your values, your belief, and in becoming the entrepreneur you knew you were capable of being. So I don't know that the two were necessarily apples to apples that day with how you were strapped a little bit for cash at that point.
I get it.
But you also what I'm trying to impress upon our tribe here is, we're coming off this conversation about filling the leadership void, and it starts with eliminating the trust gap. And the first key to doing that, if you haven't yet, is this idea of vulnerability, of showing up with vulnerability in your heart. It's not about what you say. It's about how you show up. And people are going to feel that. We're energetic beings, right? We come with a certain amount of energy, and we're all intuitive enough to where we're picking up, right? When somebody walks into a room, you can feel whether that's somebody you're going to want to approach versus somebody maybe you don't want to approach. And it's not a permanent state, right? Some of the most incredible people in the world can have a bad day. and their energy's not good right now.
Sure.
And you feel that when they walk in the room.
Sure.
But to me, vulnerability as a leader is that first key critical step to eliminating the trust gap within your team and creating that culture of leadership within your organization. Then, we go from that vulnerability where you opened up, where you energetically opened up to me, and I felt this unbelievable pull to share with you everything honestly that's going on in my life, telling the truth, right? Long before you ever said to me the wise Dan Sullivan words that all progress begins by telling the truth, long before you ever said that to me, you modeled that behavior to me. You showed that this was a safe place to do that. And in doing so, you literally breathed in everything that I had to say. And instead of, right, you didn't share with me the financial struggles. You didn't sympathize with me. You empathized with me.
Excuse me?
Uh-huh. You didn't sympathize with me.
I thought you should synthesize.
Well, we've been synthesizing for 20 years, dude. But there's a difference.
Yes.
Between
difference.
sympathy and empathy. And yet I think we, as a society, often lose sight of the difference. We've got this old friend of ours, Brene Brown, who's made quite the career dealing with shame and empathy and helping us get in touch with those.
We'd love to have her on the
dark.
show.
Yeah. Brene, if you're listening, give us a jingle. We'd love to sit down and chit-chat a little bit.
Yes.
Because there is a distinct difference. And whether you were aware of it or not, you expressed empathy, not sympathy. You didn't talk about sympathy is when you share with me, gosh, dude, that sounds really hard what you went through. I went through the same exact thing. Right? Sympathy is when you feel what I felt. You've experienced what I've experienced. And you're going to share that we have a common experience.
Right. Doesn't feel nearly as good as empathy.
No, sympathy is wonderful, but the challenge with sympathy is that if I'm sympathizing with you, it's really not about you. It's about me.
Right.
Oh, God, Jim, I went through the same exact thing. Right. Let me tell you, about my $100,000 credit line and, how we're living on that. And and I was not in a place where
you would have heard two words.
I wasn't interested. I was so stuck in my own shit.
Right.
That for me to get out of that, your sympathy would have only dug me in deeper. It would have instantly broke the trust and in effect created a much wider trust gap. As we were narrowing the trust gap, it would have blown it wide open if all of a sudden it became about you.
And so then vulnerability retreats.
Correct. Because it's sympathy and it's all about you now. Right. Whereas empathy, whether you experienced it or not, you kept it about me.
So when we talk about vulnerability, I think it kind of the layer below that we've really never explored on the show is this desire to be understood.
Yeah.
And that we all have this very deep-seated desire to be understood and listened to. That's the fabric that we cherish in all of our early engagements, is we want the client to feel understood.
We want our teammates.
Oh, our teammates, absolutely, right? But at the client engagement level, certainly I'm not trying to dismiss that the teammates need to feel understood too.
Sure.
But all of us, I mean, a relationship goes to the next level when they understand you.
Yeah.
When they understand your challenges, your strengths, your dreams, your hopes, your fears, all of those things. And so in order to be able to make progress in any area of life, in our purview, it's money, right? In the money life. But what if it's in the health life?
Mm-hmm.
What if it's in the love life, right? In order to be able to make progress with that relationship, it almost requires that you feel understood.
Yes.
Right? Because if you don't understand me, I can't really relate, and I'm probably going to be a little hesitant on opening up on the vulnerability side of things.
Sure. If I don't feel like you're trying to understand me, absolutely. If I feel like you're trying to understand me because I'm watching you listen, I'm experiencing your listening, and
thank you.
You're not
for saying it properly.
You're welcome. And you're not offering me advice. You never offered me advice in the beginning. You didn't. You started asking me questions.
Well, because that's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. You weren't trying to solve my problems.
Right. Right.
You were allowing me the space to sit in the dirty diaper I made, the mess that I made. And in a way, you didn't say these exact words to me, but what you showed me with your action between being vulnerable, expressing empathy, expressing compassion, right? Those three key components to building trust instantly the way you did. Without saying these words, your action showed me that as much as you wish you could take my pain away, you don't have that much power. You can't.
Nope.
But what you can do is you can sit with me when I'm feeling it so that I'm not feeling it alone. I'm not carrying it alone. I'm not experiencing it alone because I felt like I was understood. That is the essence of creating trust.
Yeah.
And holy cow, have I had a lot of fun breaking that down with you and studying that the last 20 years.
Yeah.
It's like a master class I feel like we could teach in this category because we've just watched it.
Too bad there's no demand.
Right? Well, and selfishly, you and I have learned that there's a byproduct of this that kind of like when we tripped across the buffered ETFs back in 2019 when you and I were thinking we had a part of our asset management strategy that was broken. It wasn't working so well, and we were trying to figure out how do we mitigate some more of the volatility in the moment, right? And we thought we had a really cool indicator, and it wasn't working. In fact, it became the contra indicator because every time it went off, the opposite would happen.
And we found a new who.
Yeah, we found a new who, and we found these things called buffered ETFs. And you know, the way they were always explained to us is that, you know, you've kind of got airbags around your index fund, right? You're going to track a specific index. If over a year's time that index loses a certain amount of money, this thing is going to protect a portion of that. And it worked wonderfully. And when we bought them, we didn't realize that there was a secondary benefit that came that we learned during COVID. When the S&P and the Dow and all those lovely indices dropped like
30% in 3 weeks if you're keeping score at home
it was
on
awful.
the Dow Jones Industrial Average.
Right? But then they snapped right back.
Yes.
Right? It was this, like rivaled the roller coasters of Cedar Point, Ohio. I mean,
Sure.
they ripped down and ripped back up.
Right.
And what we learned about the buffered ETFs was how they went through that a little smoother.
Yes.
Right? Not only did this thing protect some of the downside losses like what we experienced in 2022, but in the storm of COVID, we learned that they actually had a secondary and ancillary benefit of dampening out volatility. The same thing can be said about this incredible gift of empathy, of breathing in somebody else's gas. What we learned about it is not only does it build trust fairly instantaneously, but it also gives us a way to get the hell out of our own heads for a minute. I don't know if you realized this when you were doing this for me back then. I would guess 2 months into starting your own business, you probably were spending a fair amount of time spinning in your own head, full of fear, full of worry, full of what ifs.
Absolutely.
And me showing up that day gave you a little gift, and that I gave you a break from your treacherous thoughts for a couple of hours. When we get out of our own head and get into somebody else's heart because we're genuinely curious and interested, we come out the other side of that experience going, holy cow, my little mouse turds that I was tripping over ain't there anymore. Look at that.
Quiets the mind.
Oh, it's again
fills the heart and quiets the mind.
Another one of those little paradoxical experiences that.
Well, we learned that in the discovery of picking this apart.
Sure. Well, so because when you think about why is it that empathy is like so hard to express, why is it that we don't experience it as often as we would like in the world today? Is, at least for me, before experiencing you, I didn't have the bandwidth to sit there and listen to most people.
Well, they're busy.
Well, I got my own shit to deal with.
Yeah, you're busy. You got squirrels and hamsters up in the cage, and you got a lot to do. And I can't sit and listen to.
I got too much.
My bag of worry,
as you would say, full. Right, I'm like just barely my nose is above water.
Right.
But that's the paradox in this, is that there was nothing I wanted more than a break from the chaos that was my mind, and the worry that my mind was constantly wrapped around.
Sure.
And learning how to genuinely breathe in somebody else's gas, which allows me a doorway into their heart, gives me that break from that worry. It's such a powerful tool as a leader to build trust instantly.
Yes.
And at the same time, as a leader who's constantly, if you're anything like us, thinking about, worrying about where we've been, where we're going, what kind of threats are out there, how do I improve my bottom line, how do I create more value, how do I take care of my people,
Right.
to get a break from that constant stream of thought by just jumping into the heart of one of your teammates, one of your clients, one of your family members, by being vulnerable, by sharing an empathetic moment, and then expressing some compassion, even despite the fact that I'm sure deep down you were looking at me and there had to be a little voice going, did this son of a bitch really blow through millions and millions of dollars? Holy shit. But instead of that coming out, you express some compassion.
Yeah, because that's not going to do any good.
No.
Right? We've sat with other clients that have come in with their bag of shame
Yes.
around the money that they've made and how little they have to show for it.
Yes.
You know exactly who I'm thinking of. I mean, we hit a little bit too much bone with that individual, and they kind of bounced out of the boat because we were making great progress with the work, but eventually we had to get to the problem.
Yeah.
Right? As you have said, drinking wasn't your problem.
No, not at all.
Drinking was your solution.
Absolutely.
Right? Substitute spending.
Yep.
Right? Spending is not the problem. Overspending is the solution. The problem being the hole in the soul, right?
For the entrepreneur, control.
And let's be impossible to misunderstand.
Sure.
We are not getting within 100 nautical miles of the hole in someone's soul unless there is record levels of trust and vulnerability and compassion and empathy and all of our favorite words if we're going to go try to explore what that is.
Right.
We're not getting anywhere near that. And I don't mean that in the context of our desire to want to help. I mean in terms of the willingness of the participant to share.
Absolutely.
Because they ain't going there if these things don't exist.
If energetically those things aren't there, it's not happening. Absolutely not. And this is where, you shared a little while ago that this is the nature of the job that we do, and I'm glad you clarified that this is the nature of the job that we do, because my experience in financial advisor land from all the years of wholesaling and calling on financial advisors is, there's a lot of really good, nice people in our business that just really, at the end of the day, don't give a shit about that stuff. It's like, hey, I'm here to help you make some financial decisions and invest your money for you, and that's all I do. That's all I care about. And that's fine. That's okay.
There's plenty of people looking for that.
Absolutely.
We want to play at a deeper level.
Absolutely.
We want to play at a more meaningful relationship level.
Yes.
Because we know through our experience that the progress that a client's going to be able to make in their life outside of their money, if they can address their deepest, darkest fears and dangers and secrets and maybe even the hole in their soul, or we can get them in the direction of exploring their hole in the soul with the appropriate professionals.
Yep.
That is 1,000 times more rewarding to you and me than coming close to an index in relative performance.
Sure.
I mean, really, at the end of the day, right, we're not attracted to the client that just wants to make more money with their money. We are attracted to the client that wants more meaning from their money.
Sure.
And how can it be in alignment with the people, the passions, and everything that they have in their life, that's what the money is for. The money is simply a tool. And those relationships are much more rewarding and attractive to us if people are willing to play at that level.
Brother,
if they just want returns and low fees,
right.
There's lots of people that are good people that can help them with that.
Right.
We're looking for a deeper relationship with our clients that is much more meaningful and I think ultimately going to be more impactful for all parties involved.
And to your point, at the end of the day, more profitable. You and I have been pounding the table within the industry that we want more of our brethren, our brothers and sisters in the industry to take a more genuine interest in their clients and be willing to be vulnerable and be willing to express empathy and compassion, because if all you're selling are beating the index returns and this incredible separately managed account platform that we can plug your money into and charge you 2 points for, then you're a commodity. And as soon as somebody else can out-commoditize your commodity, you're out. But if all of a sudden now I take a genuine interest in the human being sitting across from me, and I take a genuine interest in helping them connect the dots between their most coveted values and their money, and be there as a trusted advisor to help them make decisions, not tell them what to do,
Empower them to make the decision.
but help them make decisions by asking thoughtful questions based on what I know about them, because I've taken the time to listen and breathe in their gas. Then all of a sudden now what I've done is I've created a CFL. There are lots of people out there who will teach you how to segment your business between A clients, B clients, C clients. You and I have two types of clients, CFLs and non-CFLs, and we're getting rid of all the non-CFLs. CFL stands for
Client for life.
exactly.
Because of the sense of relationship that is in the room,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It transcends market returns. It transcends an occasional mistake that we're going to make, because we do make mistakes, and we're going to get into that.
Yep.
It transcends all of that.
Yes.
Because of the sense of relationship.
Yes. Couldn't agree with you more. And we're ultimately we're going with this. I know, we're sitting here talking a lot about how we like to operate within our business and the relationship, because what we're trying to do is show our tribe that this is what we feel leadership looks like. And if you can apply some of these principles within your own organization, within your own customer base, let's go back to those 4 intangible capitals that make up 80% of the value of your business. If you become that leader who becomes very skilled, it doesn't have to be your unique ability like it is me business partner here, but if you become skilled at being able to create trust quickly as a leader, where you bring vulnerability into the room, you know how to express empathy and compassion when you interact with people. Think about what that does to your customer capital. It creates, at least our experience has been, it creates a stickier customer.
Oh,
It
yeah.
creates somebody, and because we've built that into our culture, it's become part of our social capital, where we just use, we believe gratitude and vulnerability and empathy and compassion are part of who we are as people.
Yes.
That becomes part of our firm's culture, so that when you and I need to exit stage left one day and pass this thing on to the next generation, it's just who Gebhardt Group is, right? Think about what it does from a people capital standpoint, from being able to attract and retain quality talent who want to be here because of what we stand for and what we represent, and how they're going to be treated as members of the team.
And how unique it is in the industry.
And then you go document this process of creating trust at lightning fast speed the way we have, and it becomes part of your intellectual property as structural capital. So as you and I have dove off the deep end of connecting with people and building trust authentically because we believe it's our charge as leaders, we've not only increased the value of our company based on the people we attract, the social capital we have, and the customer capital that we attract, but it also becomes part of our structural capital and just how we operate.
Right.
And I believe this has probably been one of the most meaningful pieces to driving the value of Gebhardt Group higher. And so this, to me, becomes a do as we say and do as we do kind of example. And I'm very proud of it. Very proud of it.
I am immensely proud of it, because as you've been able to share with me, I didn't think it was so unique.
Well, it takes a who to see it.
Because I'm just talking to Wilson the volleyball here, playing Tom Hanks and Castaway. When you're an entrepreneur in the beginning and there's not a lot of team,
Right.
and you're wearing all the hats, you don't have a lot of people to talk to.
Yeah.
And in the concept of relationship, it's one of the reasons you got to get off your island and go network in your industry.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the reasons I so enjoy the Financial Planning Association and going to those meetings is getting off the island and talking to other folks that are in the trade,
Yeah.
right, that are in the business.
Sure.
And just listening.
Yep.
But just, again, applying all
Genuine
of these,
curiosity.
applying all of the things that we've just talked about with the brethren in the business.
Right.
And, when I left the big brokerage firm environment, right, when I left the Merrill Lynch and the Smith Barney environment, I had this trepidation that the independent financial planning community was going to be just riddled with scarcity. I couldn't have been more wrong. The environment I left
Yes.
was riddled with scarcity. And one of the most interesting questions when I was doing kind of my exploratorium on how am I going to leave the biosphere of Smith Barney and actually breathe and live on my own, one of the guys asked me, I can remember having breakfast with him. He's like, tell me how much of the day, how many hours of the day is the office door open or closed? And I thought for a second, and I was like, uh-oh, this is a test. Well, it's closed most of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, and you need to leave now.
Yeah.
When people are coming to bother you for questions or thoughts or insights, that means your value has exceeded the room that you're in and you need to leave.
Yeah.
And so I did.
Yep.
Thinking that I'd come to the financial planning community and it'd be this unbelievably scarce environment. And it's just been the absolute opposite. So the ability to be able to go with other people in our industry and learn what they're doing and see how, what's your approach to this? What's your approach to that? How do you handle asset management? What's your solution for this? In a very different way, it fosters an unbelievable sense of relationship.
Yes.
Because then when I'm sharing, right, when I'm being vulnerable and talking about this is how we've solved this problem, or, hey, Tom, anytime you want to talk more about this, and I'm glad to open up the playbook because there have been many people who have opened up the playbook for me, right? That reciprocal compassion for understanding where they're at. That's why it's a unique ability because it applies wherever you go.
Absolutely. You and I think, have really learned how to build trust at lightning fast speed. I think I want to wrap up today's episode with is there's a second little art form in trust because that for most people, it can take a lifetime to build trust. You have this unique ability. I've developed the skill set in accelerating that process by creating trust much quicker. We also know how quickly we can lose trust.
Sure.
There are a handful as I continue to study our behavior. One of the brilliant things that we've done is we've kept things pretty simple. As far as maintaining trust, the trust that we've been fortunate enough to create in our relationships, it's equally as important to be able to keep that trust, to maintain that trust.
Sure.
Especially in a business that is so focused on getting the next client in the door and sometimes forgetting about the existing clients that are already in the firm, right? That's always been a challenge within our industry.
Sure.
Part of the reason why we're able to create these CFL-type relationships is because we've kept how we do things very simple and very basic. You and I have adapted, again, thanks in part to borrowing some concepts from Dan Sullivan at Strategic Coach. You and I have been able to maintain most of our trusting relationships by kind of keeping it simple with some basic principles of how we try to show up every day. And these are rainbows that we're often chasing in the horizon. We don't do these perfectly. But what we want to leave everybody with here are just a few simple principles that if, for just a moment, we were to make believe that every rule that ever existed got flushed down the toilet. Which apparently it feels like that's starting to happen
this week,
given the shift right at the
yes.
higher echelons of government. So let's make believe every rule, the entire Constitution, all the laws of the state of California, and all those rules get thrown out, and instead we're all just going to adopt and live by 5 principles. Ready?
Sure. Let's go.
So I just want you to all imagine as I go through these 5 principles, breathe them all in. Principle number 1. Show up on time and prepared. Right?
What a world that would be.
And principle number 2, do what you say. Principle number 3, finish what you start. Principle number 4, say please, thank you, and you're welcome.
Oh, come on.
Principle number 5, when you make a mistake, own it and fix it. That's it. Think about those 5 principles. And if every other rule in life went away, what would our world actually look like when it comes to being able to trust one another as humans, as leaders, if we all aspired to do those 5 things, to show up on time prepared, to do what we say, to finish what we start, to say please, thank you, and acknowledge gratitude with a you're welcome. And when we make mistakes, which
it's going to happen.
Every human being makes mistakes. There's no such thing as perfection. It doesn't happen.
It's going to happen.
When we make mistakes, own it and fix it. What does our world look like if we actually do these 5 very simple 5 to thrive principles?
Oh, that's where I would like to live, please.
Well,
I would like an address in that land.
So when I said earlier, I don't remember if it was the beginning of this episode or last episode, you and I have made a choice not to live under the disguise of leadership that's being proposed at different levels of government and business, big business in our world today. You and I have chosen to remove ourselves from that environment and live in our own world where we get to live basically by our own principles, where we get to connect with people in a way that we want to connect, by living by some very basic, fundamental human principles of doing the right thing.
I have shared this with our kids hundreds of times. I've shared it with a lot of their peers. And my whole belief in sharing these principles with them is I really don't care what their profession is, what they study in school, what their career is. If they embrace these 5 principles and they live their life at the altar of these 5 principles, they're going to have a spectacular life.
Absolutely.
They're going to be wildly successful.
More successful than most.
Because most people are not showing up prepared and on time. Most people don't say, please, thank you, and you're welcome. Most people, most people don't do what they say or finish what they start.
Hey, give me a cheeseburger, small fries, and a Coke.
Yeah. I mean,
what would the world look like if somebody actually came up to their Starbucks barista and instead of demanding a drink, they looked at the person, saw the name tag, and by name, hi, Jim, how are you today? Hey, thanks for being here today. May I please have a venti pike with a little bit of cream and 2 Splendas?
My oldest son, Jack, just said to me the other day, he's like, Dad, why do you always refer to everybody by their name? Like we're in a restaurant or something.
Because their favorite
And I'm
word.
like, well,
yeah.
I mean, we talked about this a little while ago. You know, the concept of being understood, it starts with being recognized.
Yes.
Right? So if I have a server that's helping me with something, it's like, hi, Donna, how are you today? Half the time they're shocked.
You actually care about what the answer is.
Yeah. I mean, automatically they're like, wait, what did he ask me?
Uh-huh.
Right? I made a mistake the other day. We had a Zoom scheduled with a longtime client, and what happened was I got engrossed in a conversation with Janine on our team.
Mm-hmm.
I lost track of time, completely spaced on the Zoom appointment, and I felt terrible about it. And I immediately...
Shame on you.
Yeah, I immediately ripped off an email to her to say, I am so sorry. Here's what happened. Lindsay's, I'm sure by now, already reached out to you with some additional dates. And just the simple fact of honoring the mistake and fixing it as fast as we could.
Sure.
Right? How many times have we experienced in the land of customer service where someone makes a mistake, but they go out of their way to correct it, right?
Oh.
I mean, what has always been referred to, which is unfortunately no longer the policy of Nordstrom, it was, I broke a pair of sunglasses that I bought there. I broke them.
Right.
I brought them in and I said, hey, where do you have a repair shop for these? It was their brand, Fassana, back in the day.
Sure.
Do you have can I send these in for repair? And they're like, no. Please just pick out a new pair.
Right.
I'm telling this story 25 years later.
Right.
Because of unbelievable customer service, right? There wasn't something that they did wrong. They didn't.
So they didn't even make the mistake.
They didn't even make the
owned.
mistake,
Right.
but they owned it and fixed it, right? These principles, my hand on the Bible, if we were to all live our life with these simple principles, the amount of conflict, the amount of sickness, illness, the hole in the soul, I just think a lot of these things would evaporate over
Yes.
time
Yes, they would.
if there was consistency around it.
Yes. A lot easier said than done, right? As we progress through the show, I think we'll continue to weave some of these concepts in. I mean, why is it that it's so hard to be on time? Why is it that it's so hard to show up prepared? Why is it? I mean, there's a common theme here. Why is it that it's hard to do what we say? Because I know I've had times, yeah, I'm going to do that. I make a commitment, and then I'm not capable of following through with actually doing what I say or finishing what I start. I've started projects with great intentions, but I've struggled to finish them.
Sure.
Especially those first 3 principles. There's a relationship with a word that you and I have developed incredible intimacy with that you're going to hear us repeat over and over and over for as long as you and I can still suck in air. And it's a relationship with the word no. I was a yes man my whole life, right? Because all I cared about was being liked.
Sure.
So of course I'm going to say yes to being in 12 places at once.
Sure.
I'm not capable of being on time if I'm saying yes to everything. The way you learn how to be on time and be prepared is by learning how to say the word no. Now, I'm not going to tell you what you say no to today.
No.
We're going to spend some more time on that when it comes to things like unique ability, when it comes to saying no more, and saying no to the things that no longer serve these 5 principles, that serve the human connection as leaders we're trying to create.
And it's a muscle. It's a muscle
it
that
takes
at
practice.
times is painful.
Yes.
Sometimes it's very painful to say, no, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Right? I had one of those this morning. I had a little family thing where I could have gone and picked something up that would have been helpful for Grace, but that was going to make me like 30 minutes late today.
Yeah.
And I said, no, sorry. And fortunately, Beth was very understanding and sympathetic because she knows of my desire to want to be on time and prepared, only to find out I get on the freeway and there's an accident that makes me 10 minutes late.
There you go.
But it would have made me later. I would have been even more late.
Sure.
Had I not said no. Right?
Good job.
So it's a muscle.
It is. It is. You and I have spent a lot of time, effort, energy, and money investing in connecting with people, learning this art of trust. It's important. It's critical for us as leaders to be able to establish
I would say it's
and
the only thing I want to do.
Right? Establish and maintain trust.
Is have deep, meaningful connections and relationships with people. And
So
you can't do that without the components to the recipe here.
Okay, so which came first, trust or relationship? And with that,
that's a wrap.
Thanks for joining us today on the Whole Wealth Journey. Whatever your path may look like, our purpose is to make sure that your way forward aligns with your core values and intentions. Are you ready to start planning for a future that's rich in wealth and well-being? Then click like and subscribe and make sure you don't miss a single episode of the Whole Wealth Journey.
So if we've struck a nerve with you today, where do people go?
You can find us at GebhardtWholeWealth.com. That's GEBHARDT wholewealth.com. And once you get there, make sure you connect with us so you can take the first steps to finding your why. We'll see you next time.
Jim Gebhardt is a registered representative of and securities offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Jim Gebhardt and Matthew Grishman are investment advisor representatives of Gebhardt Group Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, and Gebhardt Group Incorporated are not affiliated. The opinions in this podcast are for informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or investment recommendations. To determine which investments or financial advice may be appropriate for you, consult a financial advisor prior to investing. Any reference to market performance is based on historical information, and there is no expressed or implied guarantee of future performance. Opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. The topics discussed and opinions given are not intended to address the specific needs of any listener. Gebhardt Group Incorporated does not offer legal or tax advice. Listeners are encouraged to discuss their financial needs with the appropriate professional regarding your individual circumstance.